We have a tweet from our good friends over at Politico. You know we love Politico. And they wrote this. Analysis. How Democrats were tricked into believing the economy was strong, writes former U.S. Comptroller Eugene Ludwig. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Democrats were tricked. Why not Republicans? Let me just pause real quick and let's let that ruminate a little bit. Why is it that the people who supported Trump during the 2024 cycle knew the economy was bad? Why is it that Trump won the popular vote, indicating that the majority of the country voted Republican? And how were Democrats tricked? There is a conundrum here in this story. Now, the first thing I want to say is, just to get to the meat and potatoes here, Politico mentions, when you go all the way down, basically, if you actually take all the numbers, the real unemployment under Joe Biden was 23.7. People weren't making money, they didn't have jobs. But this does present us with a question. I understand that the average person would go to the grocery store and say, wow, everything's expensive and I can't buy anything. Thus, they were not tricked. And they said, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. Well, the media kept saying that the economy was better than ever. So the question then becomes, how is it that Democrats avoided going to grocery stores, or at the very least, when they did, they were unfazed by the prices? The answer, of course, is simple. The Democratic Party is the party of the upper class and the wealthy, and they do not care about things like, can you afford food? And it's important to understand this because that means today, when they're saying, why aren't the prices going down, Trump? They don't care, and they never cared. That's how they were tricked. Because when Don Lemon asked a guy on the boardwalk in Atlantic City why he was voting for Trump, the guy says the economy. Don Lemon said, actually, the economy is good. And the guy laughed. Because the guy is like, bro, I went to the grocery store. Okay, I can't afford, butter was $7. And Don Lemon's like, I don't know how much butter costs. Mm-hmm. He didn't literally say that. I'm using the hypothetical. But you had that MSNBC moment where Mika Brzezinski said to Scarborough, butter $7. And he goes, wait, what? And she goes, yeah, it's $7. And he goes, what is it, covered in gold? Why, who's buying that? And it's like, Joe, it is $7. But you see, what Joe revealed in that moment was he doesn't go grocery shopping. He probably asks Consuela to do it for him. And then he complains that Trump is taking his indentured servants away because they're all racists.
He probably also doesn't eat butter, soy only, seed oils only.
Soy margarine.
Yeah, but this is the greatest gaslighting campaign in modern history, telling us for years, everything's great, everybody's employed, the groceries are so affordable, everybody has jobs, everything's great, we're great. And we all said, I literally go to the grocery store, I make good money, I work a hard job. Why is everything still so expensive for me? Why does $100 get me half a bag of groceries in New York City? You have to spend hundreds of dollars a month. Takeout has become cheaper than purchasing groceries. Like, it's gotten so out of just control. And this is just another leg of that, trying to gaslight us. Oh, they didn't know. They were tricked. No, we know that they knew, because there's no way, as you said, there's no way to not know. It's everywhere around you. It's the gas prices. It's buying anything, shipping prices, things on Amazon. I just went skiing. I bought these ski pants that I had bought a year before, literally this time last year, $44. This year, $84.
Oh my gosh.
Doubled in price in a year, but we're being told it's the best economy in modern history. Joe Biden is literally our king. Everybody kiss his feet.
Yeah, the price increase that the average person saw. I mean, so I'm gonna band it that we go on tour and like we'll go ahead and rent a bus and we have crew. We did a tour in 2022 and it cost X amount of dollars, and we did a tour roughly the same amount of time, and the cost of the bus was almost double. Because of gas, when it comes to get like gas, the cost of renting hotels for your bus driver, the cost for the actual bus drivers, it is incredibly hard for bands to go out and actually make a good living when you've got so much overhead. We're a pretty well established band. We go out, we make good money and stuff. But still, it's like when you go out in 2022, we had guarantees of X amount of dollars, and we had guarantees on the most recent tour that were better than the last one, and we still came home with about the same amount of money.
And then they tell you, just make more money.
Yeah.
Just make more money.
But the thing is, when it comes to a band like us, it's like there's only so much money that you want to charge tickets. It's like people have to come to the shows, and when you've got your tickets are $30 or $40, and then there's Ticketmaster fees, and parking's $20, and then if people are there, if you got more than one person going, like a dude goes with his girlfriend or whatever, you got 2 tickets, and then a couple beers are going to cost you, I don't know,
$60,
$7 each, $8, I mean, depending on where. I mean,
Totally.
if in New York, it's going to be $12,
like $20 at Yankee Stadium minimum.
But the thing is, like, that stuff adds up, and it's like, look, man, when you're playing heavy metal, you're playing to blue collar people, and when you're competing with staying home and watching Netflix, or staying home and playing Xbox, or just scrolling on TikTok, like, it's real hard to get people out if your prices are too high. So it's super competitive anyways, or the overhead's super high anyways, and then when you've got throwing all the things that the average concert goer has to pay for, it's really hard to convince people to come out. You have to have a really good reason to get people off the couch. So
it's like that guy who sang Old Men, Richmond, north of Richmond, that song that went super viral, Oliver. He came out, he's like, I want to have super cheap tickets, I don't want anybody to have to pay so much, and then all of the concert venues were like, we cannot afford to have this. We will lose money if we have you at this ticket price. And he had like a whole thing, the system's broken, but it's just how it works nowadays. There's such high overhead costs.
Right. With all due respect to that guy, I don't know, did he quit or something?
I don't know what happened to him.
But there's a lot of people who are very naive.
Yeah.
And I was one of them getting into the industry. I say that Allison and I, not a day goes by, we don't look at each other and go, oh, so that's why corporations do that. So my response to all of you guys, when you're mad at your company for having some wacky policy, it's the government. Companies will take the path of least resistance. They don't care. And so that means when you have a weird HR policy and they're like, we got to watch these weird harassment videos, the company doesn't want to pay for that. I guarantee you they don't want to pay for it, but they have to because of government regulation. Because if they don't do it, then they're open to liability, then the insurance companies drop them, and it's because of government requirements typically.
In addition to what you were saying about the Democratic Party being the party of the wealthy and them sending their servants to shop, maybe their bill went up $100, but they don't really know why exactly, just whatever. I think there's this phenomenon of cognitive dissonance in the plebs, in the people that aren't the wealthy, the people that are making $50,000, $40,000, $30,000 a year, whatever. They're told one thing on TV, and they're unable to break that spell. They're stuck believing what they were told the first time. Like, it's easier to some people say, like, it's easier to, like, the first thing you hear, it's harder to disbelieve a lie. And there's a way of expressing it. But, like, once you've heard it before someone else has come and told you the opposite, it's like you've ingrained it. And so they're just like, but the TV said that the economy's fine.
It breaks their reality. That's a lot of it. Like, admitting that Trump's doing good, it breaks their idea that he's this racist, fascist, horrible Nazi figure. They can't acknowledge it because it will destroy everything. This is their identity for them. This isn't for us. Like, we all have our beliefs, and then we have a bunch of other things that we care about and we're passionate about, like skateboarding and acting and music. Like, we all have so much more to politics, but these people, their entire life, identity, sense of self-worth relies on being considered on the right side of history, good, moral codes.
That's a really great point, because a lot of these people consider themselves activists.
Yeah.
And they think of themselves as activists. So they don't stop doing this, right? Like, it's the way
all
that they
day
live.
long.
So, and that's one of the things that conservatives generally, that's why the conservatives are generally behind the 8 ball, because conservatives are out doing things in the real world that are not associated with politics or winning the next election or whatever. If your entire self-image is based on the fact that you consider yourself an activist, that means that for recreation, you're going to do this kind of stuff.
There's a reason why they say that, once you start running a business, you become conservative. Once you get your first paycheck, you're a young progressive idealist. I describe it like this. There's ways to draw distinctions between the left and the right. And there's many different ways. One of them is a point I made last week. I went to there's a local car dealership, and I was talking to one of the sales guys, and we were talking business stuff, and I asked like, how much revenue do you guys do per month at one dealership? And he goes, just over $1 million. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I run a business. I know what that means. That means that they've got to pay each porter. They got to pay each salesperson. The salesperson's going to get a commission. They have to. So $1 million. What's their margin though? 5%, meaning basically all the money comes in goes right out to sustain and support and cater to the infrastructure. But I guarantee you, if you go to a leftist activist and said, did you know that every month that car dealership makes $1 million? Then they'll go, $1 million? That's wrong. The government should take it. Nobody should make that much money. And you're like, they're paying for electricity. They're paying for plumbing. They're paying for their merchandise. They're paying for their, which is the vehicles. They're paying their staff. They're paying the people who clean. These young liberal leftists, like I guarantee you, if you talk to like David Hogg, he would not know these things. He'd be like, huh?
It's altruism. That's what I think it comes down to. It's individualism versus altruism. They believe we have a responsibility for each other. A lot of this was popularized during COVID. Like, it's my job to make sure that you're healthy. No, it's not. It's my job to make sure I'm healthy. Your health is your problem. It's not my job. And I think that's just so deeply ingrained in a lot of these fellow Gen Z folks.
I would not call them altruistic.
They think they're being altruistic.
Yes.
They're actually being communists.
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
Big problem with our education system, from my perspective of public schooling in the 90s, early 2000s, 80s and 90s. They don't teach anything about how to run a business. They don't even scratch that surface on purpose, because they want to make good little soldier boys that'll go raise their hand and wait to be called on and then get hired at some job for the corporate elite that want the people to follow this Prussian school of education. And I didn't know how to write a check. I got to college and I didn't know how to write a check. I'd never been told. No one ever mentioned it to me. And I had to pay my first rent. I was like, where do I draw on this? What do I write? Where? Someone had to show me. I'm like, I was
shown. They showed us how to write checks and
Really? I didn't. I had to call my mom. I was like, where do I put my name?
I'm effing old though. All right, I'm an old guy.
2000, baby.
By the mid 80s, they'd stopped all that stuff.
2000.
And so
No. By the mid 80s, they didn't.
Well, I was in
Stopped
elementary.
script for me in third grade. They're like, you guys are too dumb. We're not going to even try anymore. They gave up on the American education system.
I mean, I graduated in 2000. Well, okay, so in the 80s and early 90s, the education system was totally inundated with Marxists. So that might be true. But like, I grew up in the 80s and I graduated in 1993, and I learned how to fill out a check, and how to balance a checkbook and stuff like that.
Did you get much more
balance
business?
a checkbook?
Yeah.
It's wild because that doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't. I mean, you don't have to, because you can look on your phone and it'll tell you
You can also Zelle
real
people.
time how much money you
Yeah,
have.
and we use our cards.
all
We
your
don't
ins
use-
and outs.
Yeah,
Did you get any other? I graduated in 97, so I'm 4 years behind you. Did you have any business training at all in school, public school? You did public school?
Yeah, no, but my father owned a business, so I picked up a little bit of that stuff from him. And I kind of always thought about doing my own thing. I was not kind of the dude that was like, I'm going to go to college and blah blah blah. I was playing guitar when I was 14, and so I wanted to be in a band.
Easy to come out of school screaming workers' rights, give me a percentage of your company, when you have no training in how companies need to run. So I think we'll have a lot less of that communist, and maybe that's on purpose, is the organizations that are running. Are they upending the Department of Education? Is it about to get turned off?
Wait, what
Rumor.
department? What department?
Education.
I don't even.
No
I
such
don't even
department
know.
exists.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever.
No longer?
That's what Elon said.
It would be nice.
What did he say?
Like
There's
the
no
Gulf
such
of
department.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Nothing but a memory.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, did you guys see that press conference where resting Joker face Caitlin Collins asked about retaliation against journalists for defying Trump or whatever? And Caroline Leavitt's just like, going into the Oval Office to ask the president a question is a privilege by invitation. We don't have to invite you. And it was really funny because she's like, the Secretary of the Interior has updated the name to the Gulf of America. Apple and Google and literally every other news outlet here is referring to the Gulf of America. It's done. Why isn't the AP? And then Caitlin Collins is just, so you're basically saying you're retaliating against journalists because they're not doing what you're saying? And it's just like, resting Joker face, please calm down. Your questions are bad.
Also, the AP was in Gaza on October 7th. So I think there's a lot of reasons why the AP is horrible. But overall,
Is that part of Hamas?
Yeah, that's definitely a big one.
Well, to
UNRWA, Hamas,
clarify,
who knows?
I believe it was an individual who was a contractor for the AP.
Yes, and they
It's a big
published
company.
that photo very happily. It won Photo of the Year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who owns it?
Let's,
I want to look at the stock portfolio of AP.
AP, I believe, is a nonprofit.
Yeah, but who owns that?
I don't know that it has, I think it's like a board, but look into it. Maybe I'm wrong. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.